Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of PKM Weekly. So this week we've got another jam-packed episode, so let's get right into it. Obsidian, Odysseus, they've been using Obsidian for the past couple of years, and they've distilled their usage down in about 11 minutes, or 10 if you skip the advert. And in the video, it basically presents his findings and learnings from the past couple of years, with a special focus on write first and organize later. So basically the concept of just start taking notes, don't worry about which plugins, which folders, which vaults. Just open the vault and just start taking notes, and you will see that your methodology and your system will develop over time. Edit and delete old notes, which I think none of us really take this seriously, but he goes and stresses the point that it's really worthwhile going back to review old notes, edit them for your current systems and current thinking, and especially delete old notes that you have probably forgotten about or you don't need anymore, or they're irrelevant now for your thinking, so definitely worthwhile doing a little bit of spring cleaning now and again. And then he touches upon organize on the go, uses sub-indexes, and if it doesn't excite you, don't write about it. So basically really the concept of keeping things simple and in line with your current passions and aims. Another question was, is it safe to use Obsidian? Could it disappear one day? So it's quite a common question of all the new PKM apps. It's really, well, there's so many up and coming ones. How can we be safe that we pour our notes and feelings and everything within them, and then one day they will disappear? And this question on Reddit captured it perfectly. I know all about the benefits of having files stored locally, so they know about the MD and just having them on your unit and your machine. But then he goes on to say, I still wonder, is it safe to solely rely on Obsidian? Is there a chance it could disappear one day, maybe because it's no longer profitable or for any other reasons? I'm afraid of waking up one day and everything being gone. And the real takeaway from this is, even if the company shut its doors, the app would still be on your machine, the notes would still be on your machine, so really you have everything there. And it's just a case of then either finding another app that can read .md notes, or just using the .markdown files as they are. So yes, Obsidian does add the views and a lot of things, but fundamentally you still have your notes with you. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of people say just keep plugins to a minimum, because you don't want to overcomplicate things should something happen to Obsidian, that you've relied on plugins, or even the plugins disappear, that you've relied on these plugins that now no longer work. So just something to keep in mind. Definitely worthwhile checking out the comments on the Reddit post, because there is a lot there. And on that theme, there was another question, or another Reddit post, that keeping things straightforward and making Obsidian work for you. And basically this OP posted that he's no expert, but this is what he really wish he'd knew when he started working with Obsidian. 7-minute read, so not that long, and definitely goes into a number of things: counterintuitive mindset, what works, what doesn't work, the folder problem, how to actually start from their point of view. Start with 3 simple steps and then just really go in to create your own notes and link them, etc., and do it in a slow and meaningful way. But basically the key thing is just start taking notes. And on the flip side, of course, there's another Reddit post which says, I'm new to Obsidian and feeling overwhelmed. And I think this really comes down to people download Obsidian, they look at videos on YouTube, see people with hundreds of plugins, systems, methodologies that work for them. They think they can recreate them quite easily and that it will solve all their procrastination and productivity issues. And lo and behold, it doesn't. So they start to panic and feel overwhelmed by, actually, where do I even start? So again, just start by taking some notes. It doesn't matter if it's in Obsidian, in Tana, in Logseq, anywhere. The key is just to start taking notes. Tana's up next. So they did a meeting AI note taker update. So they did the launch that was on YouTube past week. So it just goes through what is the meeting note taker update, how you can use it, and how you can really leverage the update in Tana to make your meetings better. So if you haven't already seen that, do check that out. And also the team have got a drop-in session for any help and any questions that you may have. That's on this coming Thursday at 3 p.m. CST or 9 a.m. EDT. So if you are stuck, you don't know where to begin, or you've got questions and particular points that you want to discuss with the team, definitely do sign up and drop in. On top of that, what they've done is they've released new meeting templates. So these are available in the template store, and you've got 4 of them. User interviews, so transcribed conversations, identities and tags, hiring interview, investor meeting, and meeting rewrites. And I'm sure more and more templates will be developed so that you can use them within Tana directly. So that was a great update, the botless meeting. So very good and very well done to the Tana team on that one. They've also enabled new AI models. So you've got Claude Sonnet 4 and GPT 0.303-Pro. So these have been enabled within Tana. And also what they've done is they've lowered the cost of GPT 0.3 to match OpenAI's recent price drop. So that's going to make it more accessible to you, so you use less tokens within Tana when you run them. And they do just keep mentioning that it's important. The 0.3 model, 0.3 Pro model with GPT 4.5 is more expensive in terms of token costs. So just make sure that you use them with highly refined models and not just chatting and prompting, because you might find out that your credits have run out fairly quickly. So just something to keep in mind on that one. They've also released the latest updates, the latest release notes. So they've improved the default prompt for text processing, they've improved meeting notifications, they've fixed some various things, and they've changed the default text processing agent. So that's a few updates that they've got going on. Also, the Tana Toronto meetup, that was a success. So quite a few people attended and they discussed various different things, Tana workflows, so that was a good one. Hopefully there's going to be more around the world and in different places. And then lastly, there was a few comments about Tana not working over Thursday into Friday. That wasn't Tana's fault, it was actually that the internet and just basically every service that we rely on that went out and was out for a good few hours. But it is again a telltale sign that if your notes are only online and the internet drops, you're basically stuck and you cannot access them. So hopefully with that one, it wasn't too much of a problem for everyone, but it just pushes the Tana team into really coming up with something that will enable offline mode or some sort of manner that you can keep your notes offline and then they sync somehow, because it wasn't great to be locked out of your notes. So hopefully that's going to be pushed up the priority. Logseq, they're improving a few things in terms of the imports. So now they should enable, or they are working on enabling imports of the assets. So when you import your assets, you will have them there, whereas now it's a bit difficult to do. And there's still a few things that need to do. Fix having full ast of a block, not 100% sure what that means. Handle references, handle copying, and ensure assets in subdirectories. So for example, images within a subfolder, that they all work correctly. So hopefully that will make importing things into Logseq a lot easier. And they're also working on better tags. So Danzu, he pointed out that they're working on vertical tag properties with some UX improvements to reduce confusion. So there are things coming up in Logseq which should make things a lot easier. Also, there was someone asking, anyone working on a Markdown first alternative of Logseq? So I'm not here to speak for everyone, but I'm wondering if anyone is exploring forks or alternatives to Logseq. It's really that the push towards a database model has them a little bit worried. And this was quite an interesting one because I don't think people realize that even though there's a lot of talk about the DB version, you will still be able to use Logseq with, as it currently is, with the Markdown notes. It's not like everything is going to drop, the current version is going to stop. It's not at all. Within Logseq, you have the option to do a new graph based on a database or the Markdown notes as we are currently familiar with. So you will still be able to use both models. It's not that you have to drop one for the other. And I think the team are working to do a database to Markdown sync so that you can always have your notes in Markdown anyway, but I think that might take a little bit of time, but it is something that the devs have in mind. So just to keep that in mind, if you see all the database versions, it's not a one or the other. You will still be able to use both. Capacities, when graph view isn't enough, so Beth did a good write-up on basically the graph view and wanting to take notes about connection between the two notes. So a little bit of a more detailed of why did I connect these two notes, and she does it using an object type called intersections. And you can read about the full write-up on the blog that she's created, and it goes through the whole detail of how she gets it set up, why she does it, and the benefits that she found from it. So definitely worthwhile looking into if you want to have a little bit more of an intimate relationship with why you're linking things as opposed to just linking them willy-nilly. So thank you, Beth, for doing that. Octarine, they've got a public service announcement, so starting the end of this month, start of next month, the 1st of July, the Pro license will increase from $50 to $60. So if you wish to lock in the current price, you just need the one-time purchase, get a license before the 1st of July, and you will be locked in to the price of $50. And existing Pro users are not affected by this change. I'm guessing that you will still be on the $50 pricing. So just something to keep in mind if you are considering Octarine. Anytype, they've done a few major changes and a few major updates in the ecosystem. So they've launched the API. So now you can chat with your API objects types fully offline directly from Anytype desktop, and you can watch the video here. They've got a developer portal going on, so you can find out more here. And they've also introduced MCP server, so interact with Anytype using AI. The MCP server is built on top of the API, and you can use Claude, Cursor, Raycast, or your preferred MCP client. And there's a great intro video that the team did here, so a lot going on. So definitely worthwhile checking out these three. And on top of that, to celebrate these great launches, they've got a 50 builder plan memberships available to give away for free. So if you're building something cool with AI and MCP, just share a demo to the team on any of the platforms that they're on, or link them at team@anytype.io, and you will receive a free builder plan for a year. So definitely worthwhile checking into that if you want to take part of the giveaway. Heptabase, they've recently launched an inbox feature, and rather than me trying to explain what it is and how it can be useful, I thought I'd post this video from Tom. He basically goes through of the whole thing, of why he's really excited about the whole inbox thing, how he uses it and how he envisages using it in the long term and with his other tools. So definitely worthwhile checking that out just to get a full insight into the Heptabase inbox feature. One that I've not really commented about before is Craft. They've got a few things going on, and if you're on the fence about Craft, it's worthwhile probably checking it out at the moment. So towards the end of this month, they're going to aim to release the following: mobile web beta, that's been in work for a while, all new whiteboards, faster search, improvements in the navigation, email to Craft, and collection enhancements. Collections are really like database type things, but they're going to enhance them, so it's going to be interesting to see what they bring into the scene. And on top of that, they've also got a 50% discount. So if you follow this link from the Crafts website, you can see, once it loads, a little bit of an explanation of what they've got going on. And then towards the bottom, they've got 50% discount for life for Craft on all Plus family and team members. It does say until 31st of May, but it does still work. So just use the Readwise 50 code at checkout. Just make sure that you click on the button add discount. Or coupon code, or whatever it's called, before you click pay, so that you can take advantage of this. And I did try it this morning, and you can see from 108 or so, it's dropped it to, or from 108, from 100, it's dropped it to 50, given the 50% off. So definitely worthwhile looking into if you are in doubt on Craft. And on top of that, they've developed, or they are developing, something called Chaps. It's a new thing which it's seen in two ways in the community. Some say, well, I'd rather they just focus on Craft rather than develop some new tool, or others are saying, well, this is a great new tool. It's going to add a lot of capabilities, so it's worthwhile. So always the thing of, do we improve the current app, or do we go for something else to generate more revenue? I think it's all right. I've not really tried it out yet because it's still in development, but it's basically a short for chat and apps. So you can chat with your, use the AI to chat with your service. And just basically, so you can use AI to chat with your notes and build smart agents. So there's a video here, so you can customize your workflows and your interaction with software. So basically, you can have a quick look at the video here, where they basically create a few things using the Chaps app. So worthwhile looking into that one. Noteey, they've got 1.24 released, so quite a few new features and improvements. So they've redesigned the product page, made it easier to modify thumbnails, reduce opening time by about 30%, optimized memory usage, improved loading speeds, and enhanced board operations. And as per usual, there's a great update from the team, and you can just get into it and just understand what's going on, what the improvements are, and how you can actually use them. So great update on that one. And then Thymer, what they've done is they've released a around the world trip in notes. So you can see as he develops more and more notes in various different countries that I think he's visited or tagged, it will highlight the world map. Unfortunately, there is still no release of the app though, and no update of when it might be released. So all very well and good, but if no one can try it, what's the point in it? What I thought I would do now is I've been playing around a little bit with the Dia browser. and we'll see if that loads up. So you can download this. This is the new Arc, if you will, or the Arc replacement, as they've tried to bill it, but it's not. But what you can do is it comes up, so basically just like a web browser, and then you can chat with your notes. So for example, or the web page that's on, if I want to say, what note apps are talked about in this release, it comes up and it just basically gives you a list of the apps and what they are. And then what I can do is obviously spelling doesn't matter anymore. So it basically then goes through and it tells you what's been chatted about within the release, and you can basically chat with your notes. I don't find it too bad. It's actually pretty clever, although it's just having GPT, if you will, on the side. But I'm sure you can do more and more. And in fact, maybe one thing that we can try, where was that Reddit comment here? Let's just check this one. And let's see what happens. So many user feels overwhelmed. Several commenters recommend taking notes, prefer MOCs and links. So it is quite good, just gives you a summary. As I say, it's going to be interesting to see whether they can bring in some of the great things that Arc had into Dia to entice people to use. It is free for the time being. I don't know how they're going to keep this free on the basis that everyone else seems to be charging for AI features. So it will be interesting to see whether people will eventually pay for something like this or not. So that was it for this week. So thank you very much for being here, and I shall see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.